there is a place for the alteration or disappearance of inconvenient or embarrassing documents, photographs, transcripts, or other records such as from a website or other archive as part of a coordinated effort to give the impression that something never happened. Come with us as we spelunk into the vast crevasse known as the memory hole. Did you know that nuclear bombs have been dropped on U.S. soil by the military? And not just once. On February 5, 1958, off of Tybee Island near Savannah, Georgia, a B-47 bomber was on a simulated combat mission from Homestead Air Force Base in Florida. It was carrying a single 3.8 megaton Mark 15 nuclear bomb. At about 2 a.m., an F-86 jet fighter collided with the B-47. The F-86 pilot ejected from the plane before it crashed. The damaged B-47 remained airborne, plummeting from 38,000 feet to 20,000 feet when the pilot regained flight control. The crew radioed for permission to drop the unarmed bomb in order to reduce weight and to prevent the bomb from exploding during an emergency landing. Permission was granted and the bomb was jettisoned at 7,200 feet while the bomber was traveling about 200 knots. The crew did not see an explosion when the bomb struck the sea. They managed to land the B-47 safely at Hunter Air Force Base. The pilot, Colonel Howard Richardson, was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross after the incident. According to 1966 congressional testimony by then Assistant Secretary of Defense for Atomic Energy, W.J. Jack Howard, the Tybee Island bomb was a complete weapon with a nuclear capsule, and one of two weapons lost by that time that contained a plutonium trigger. If a nuclear detonation had occurred, the possible blast effects would have included a fireball with a radius of 1.2 miles and thermal radiation causing third-degree burns for 12 miles. The following day, on February 6, 1958, the Air Force's 2700th Explosive Ordnance Disposal Squadron and 100 Navy personnel mounted a search. On April 16th, the military announced the search had been unsuccessful. Based on hydrologic surveys, the bomb was thought by the Department of Energy to lie buried under 5 to 15 feet of silt at the bottom of Wassaw Sound. To this day, the Tybee bomb has never been recovered. On March 11, 1958, an Air Force B-47 was making its way to the United Kingdom from Hunter Air Force Base in Savannah, Georgia. As the plane was flying over South Carolina, the pilots noted that a fault light in the cockpit indicated a problem with the bomb harness locking pin of their nuclear weapon. During the Cold War, bombers were required to carry nuclear weapons at all times just in case a war broke out with the Soviet Union. The bomber was carrying a 26-kiloton Mark VI nuclear bomb. The flight navigator, Captain Bruce Kulka, went to the bomb bay to check out the problem. While pulling himself up to inspect the problem, he reached around the bomb to steady himself, but ended up grabbing the bomb's emergency release pin instead. Kulka watched in horror as the bomb dropped to the deck, pushing open the bomb bay doors, and fell 15,000 feet toward Mars Bluff, South Carolina. According to the Air Force, the bomb wasn't armed, but uses 7,600 pounds of traditional explosives. It detonated upon impact. The resulting explosion flattened a section of nearby forest and created a mushroom cloud that could be seen for miles away. The bomb made a huge crater that measured 75 feet wide and 25 feet deep. The blast damaged the house owned by Walter Gregg and injured some of his family members. Fortunately, no one was killed. On January 24, 1961, a B-52G, based at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base in Goldsboro, North Carolina, had a rendezvous with a tanker for aerial refueling. During the hookup, the tanker crew advised the B-52 aircraft commander, Major Walter Scott Tulloch, that his aircraft had a fuel leak in the right wing. The refueling was aborted, and ground control was notified of the problem. The aircraft was directed to assume a holding pattern off the coast until the majority of the fuel was consumed. However, When the B-52 reached its assigned position, the pilot reported that the leak had worsened and that 37,000 pounds of fuel had been lost in 3 minutes. The aircraft was immediately directed to return to land at Seymour Johnson Air Force Base. As it descended to 10,000 feet on its approach to the airfield, the pilots were no longer able to keep the aircraft in stable descent and lost control of it. The pilot ordered the crew to eject at 9,000 feet. 5 men bailed out and landed safely. Another bailed out but died, and 2 died in the crash. Although the crew's final view of the aircraft was in an intact state, with its payload of 2 Mark 39 thermonuclear bombs on board, it broke apart before impact, releasing the bombs. The wreckage of the aircraft covered a 2-square-mile area of tobacco and cotton farmland in Faro, about 12 miles north of Goldsboro. The 2 3.8 megaton Mark 39 nuclear bombs separated from the gyrating aircraft as it broke up between 1,000 and 2,000 feet. 3 of the 4 arming mechanisms on one of the bombs activated, causing it to execute many of the steps needed to arm itself, such as charging the firing capacitors and deployment of a 100-foot diameter parachute. The parachute allowed the bomb to hit the ground with little damage. The second bomb, however, plunged into a muddy field at around 700 miles per hour without detonating. The tail was discovered about 20 feet below ground. Pieces of the bomb were recovered. Although the bomb was partially armed when it left the aircraft, an unclosed high-voltage switch had prevented it from fully arming. Removal of the second bomb was abandoned due to flooding. Most of the device containing uranium and plutonium was left in place, but the core of the bomb was removed. In 2011, Lieutenant Jack Revell, the bomb disposal expert responsible for disarming the device, claimed, "We came damn close to a nuclear detonation that would have completely changed much of eastern North Carolina." He also said the size of each bomb was large enough to create a 100% kill zone within a radius of 8.5 miles. In a now declassified 1969 report entitled Goldsboro Revisited, written by Parker F. Jones, a supervisor of nuclear safety at Sandia National Laboratories, Jones said that one simple dynamo technology, low-voltage switch, stood between the United States and a major catastrophe. What else are you not being told? What else has vanished into the memory hole?